What is up, guys? In this video I'm going to be going over how to use the Flexbox in CSS, and this is going to help you save a lot of time with styling your HTML so things can appear in a very nice fashion. As you can see right here, we have a single row that stretches across the screen with 6 elements, and if we actually resize it, it scales with the screen, so it's very nice for responsive web design. It will look great on mobile, and the more you zoom in, the more it shrinks together, and they are evenly spaced out. And if we wanted to, we can even go and change that to a column, and there's so many things we can do with the Flexbox. So it's definitely one of my preferred styles or ways to arrange items inside certain divs. But let's get started immediately by creating a new project, and all I have here is an index HTML and a styles, and inside the styles I just created a quick circle and square ID so that I can create these later. Of course, you can go ahead and copy this, or you can put in your own elements, it doesn't matter, but this will be concentrating more on the Flexbox, of course. So the first thing we have to do is go inside our index HTML, and inside the body, we're going to create a div, which is just going to be the container. So we're going to give it a class of container, and you can give it whatever you want. You can call it block if you prefer. And we are just going to put in a few elements. So the first element I want to insert is a circle, and it's going to have the text of 1. And then we're going to create another div, and this one's going to have the ID of square, and it's going to have the number 2. Then I'm just going to copy and paste this 2 more times so we have a few elements, and the last thing to do is to change this text here to 4, 5, 6, and that will just give us some reference of where the elements are. And then of course I should save, and we need to run this as a live server so we can see the changes appear over here. But as you can see over here, if we just run it like this with a div that hasn't been defined, you'll get everything in a column, of course. But we want to change this container into a row, and we can also change it into a column, but we want to have lots of flexibility with being able to move the items inside in a nice manner. So we're going to go to styles, and inside styles we are going to define a new class which is going to be called container. And inside here, the first thing we should do is provide a margin which we want to be auto, so it just stays in the middle of the screen. And we're going to set the display to flex. Now when we click on save, you'll notice that the items will actually arrange in a row. And if we make the screen smaller or bigger, you'll notice that they won't really scale yet, because we have not defined the rules for that to happen. And actually, one thing I forgot to show you guys is that we need to create a border of 3 pixels of solid red so we can understand what's going on, because without that you wouldn't really understand why things are happening the way they are. So right now, as you can see up here, we have a Flexbox that reaches across the screen, and the rules for it are that everything should be aligned to the left. So no matter what happens, they will always be aligned to the left, and if we zoom in a lot, the items will be squished together. So that is the default rule for the Flexbox, but now let's go on and try to center these. And to do that, we would use the attribute justify content. And inside here, you'll see a lot of attributes such as space between, space around, right, left, last baseline, flex start, flex end, and so on. The most important ones you should notice are flex end, flex start, center, space around, and space between. Those are the ones you will probably use the most. So as you can tell, if we use flex end, all of these elements will be aligned to the end, just like that. And if we click on center in here, we will have all of the elements inside the box aligned to the center. Then we have the space around, space between, and space evenly. So we're going to start with space around. So as you can see, we have half block spaces on the outside, and inside we have normal spaces between each one of them. So that is the space around. And if we go to space between, you'll notice that it does not give much attention to the outside, but it gives you a lot of attention on the inside for the spaces. And space evenly is the most even one, because it gives you the same amount of space between the border and the inner content. So those are the justify content attributes you should pay attention to: flex start, flex end, space evenly, and center, of course. Next, we need to make sure that when we zoom in, that the content won't get squished together, and we can do this by defining a flex wrap. And if we click on flex wrap, you'll notice that now when we zoom in, the items will just start to pile up, and it becomes a lot more responsive immediately. So that's what that does. And the next thing I should show you is that there is a flex direction. And here we have row, row reverse. Row is the default. As you could see, it just went straight ahead. But what's important about this is, pretend we want the elements to be in the reverse order. All we have to do is click on that, and you'll notice that it'll go 321651. So if we actually go down, everything will be reversed. And then there's also a column option in case you want to put it straight down. We just click on column, and you'll notice that the div will make the column go all the way to the bottom. But now you might be wondering, why is everything at the start and not in the center as we have defined in Justify Content? For columns, they have provided another rule, which is called align items. And here it's nearly exactly the same as Justify Content, except it is used for the column. So here you can go and click on center, and you'll see all of your items will be aligned to the center. And also if we go to flex direction and we do column reverse, you'll notice that the items will effectively be reversed. But we can also do stuff such as flex end, as we did earlier, so all items go to the end. And this is essentially why Flexbox is so powerful. It's just easy to use. You can center items very fast. You can create very responsive layouts with minimal effort. But let's get out of the column. As you can see, it's quite responsive. And if we actually change this to center, for example, you'll notice it will still be responsive, but it will have different rules on the outside and so on. And if we also go flex start, it will still be responsive. So there is so much you can do to make sure that your app works perfectly with Flexbox. And I believe I covered the very, very basics on how this should work. I also definitely recommend a webpage that I used at the beginning, and this is called Flexbox Froggy. It just teaches you everything you need to know on how to move things, and it's definitely a fun puzzle for you if you are learning CSS. But with that being said, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.